Welcome to the Legal CFO.
Welcome back to the show where clarity meets profitability. This is the Legal CFO with Ryan Kimler, the founder of Net Profit CFO. If you're a law firm owner looking to get a handle on your finances, grow your bottom line, and finally take control of your numbers, you are in the right place, because each episode Ryan breaks down the business side of law with straightforward strategies to help your firm run smarter, earn more, and scale with confidence. I'm Kevin Rosenquist, and today we're talking about what happens after you have the data. Ryan will explain how to actually use it to drive decisions, accountability, and change inside your firm. Ryan, welcome back. It's good to see you.
Yes, thank you for having me, and excited to do this today.
Yeah, a lot of firm owners have reports and dashboards and all this stuff, but they rarely act on them. Why does that disconnect typically happen?
I think there's a disconnect between looking at the numbers on paper and seeing the results, and then actually, analyzing and then putting together a plan to enact change in the firm that they know, would be directly related to the numbers that they just saw. Tying the whole thing together can definitely take some work.
What separates firms that look at their numbers from those that use them to steer their day-to-day decisions?
Yeah, obviously, if you're using the numbers to steer, day-to-day decisions, you are going to be stronger financially. I mean, there's just no way around it. You're using the numbers to make decisions. It's like having a scoreboard. It would be like playing a football game with no scoreboard. If you tuned in the middle, you wouldn't know who was winning or who was losing, right? And so the firms that take the data and really use it and enact change in the business, you can definitely make your firm more efficient, which turns into more profits, more cash flow, and more take-home pay for the owner.
Yeah, no scoreboard in a game would be like my son's soccer game. There's no scoreboard there.
Yeah.
When you're helping a firm move from information to action, is there a place that you generally start?
Yeah, one of the first places is just narrowing down the data that we're looking at. There's a lot of data out there that you could look at. There's a lot of numbers that you could analyze and figure out, like, is this going well or is it not? And so really narrowing down the data, because if you don't and you're just drowning in data, you're not going to use it. So figuring out, what are the 10 or 12 numbers that sometimes go good, sometimes they don't go good, and we really need to watch them closely. And when they don't go well and they get kind of in that red zone where we don't want them to be, how do we adjust and pivot and make changes? And so for any, law firm owner tuning in, I would highly recommend narrow down the numbers that you're looking at. You might not start looking out at the right ones or the end ones that you really need to look at, but pick 3 to 5 and start looking at them on a regular basis. Start somewhere and start minimally.
What typically happens when people try to analyze too much data?
No action, no movement. Just, not knowing
like crippling?
What pieces. Yeah. And just, they're all pieces to the puzzle, right? Again, kind of an analogy there would be like having all the pieces to the puzzle, but no box and no look of, what's the final picture look like, right? A little bit harder to build puzzles when it's that way. Or, imagine having a puzzle with no edge pieces, right? That would be really hard as well.
Mm-hmm.
Just data overwhelm. And, again, if you're looking at a ton of numbers and then not putting any action in place or not putting any changes in place, you're just going to drown in data overwhelm and then also not see your business change. And then it just becomes a waste of time.
How do you help people choose which data points they should be focusing on?
Yeah, so a lot of that is going to depend on what's important to you and what are your goals specifically and what is the plan that we put together, right? For some law firm owners, what's important to them is, well, I need to retire and exit my firm in 4 years. For some law firm owners, they might be in a different place of, no, I need to really grow my firm over the next 5 to 10 years, like really, really grow it. Like I want to be 10x as big as what I am now. I just threw that out there, right? That's just the number that popped in my head. But maybe you really want to grow your firm every single year for the next 10 years. It doesn't have to be a 10x, but so it really depends on where do you want to go. Obviously, if you're looking to grow your firm, you've got to look at your leads and sales metrics, right? Keep a close eye on those. Make sure that you're converting and closing well. If you're looking to stay a little more steady, maybe just have a little bit more growth, but you're looking to exit or you're looking to bring on an additional partner, obviously you want to improve the value as far as you can. And so we've got to make the business really efficient, producing a lot of profits, a lot of cash flow. So it depends on which road you want to go down, so to speak. But that's where to start is what do you really want over the next 5 years or 10 years?
How often should firm owners be reviewing their key metrics?
At least monthly. And that is at a minimum, I would say. Quarterly and yearly is too long in between. Again, numbers do change monthly. And so reviewing monthly and really having a handle on what changed. Is there a trend that changed? And what kind of action do I need to put in place in my business? Super, super important. So monthly at a minimum.
What should those check-ins really focus on to keep the business moving forward?
Well, I think you've got to have some help probably from some accounting professionals, but I would start with your income statement or profit and loss. They're same thing, just different terminology. You've got to really look at how efficient is your business, and that really shows up in your profits, in your net profits. And I like to look at percentages, not just the numbers, but also percentages. So, what is the percentage of your net profits out of the sales that your firm had or out of the collections that your firm had? Obviously, a business that has net profit percentage of 35% is more efficient than one that has one of 20%, right? So, looking at those kind of metrics, again, not just in dollar figures, but also percentages, is a great place to start.
Obviously, not everybody, are numbers people. Yours truly is not the best with that kind of stuff. How do you make financial data digestible for people who kind of fit into that category?
Yeah, really summarize numbers, right? That's the way to go. If you look at an income statement for a law firm, typically, expense account wise, they could have 30 to 50, maybe even more expense accounts where things are kind of divvied up. And, well, you spent money here on training, you spent money here on education. Here's your hotel bills, here's your car bills, right? So things can really be divided up. You've really got to roll those up and simplify it. The profit and loss, you should be able to get down to about 6 numbers. Again, really work with your accounting professionals in your life. But those 6 numbers, sales, you can look at direct cost of sales. So that would be like ads or a contractor would be direct cost. And then your 3 expense buckets that I talk about a lot: payroll, marketing, and overhead. And then finally, you get down to net profits. So really rolling things up and summarizing, not trying to look at 50 expense accounts. Again, if you're not a numbers person, look at those 5 or 6 numbers and look at them as a percentage. Again, highly recommend get with the accounting folks in your life. Ask them to make you a template. I want these 6 numbers. I want you to fill it in every single month so I can look at it and see what the trends are and look at not just the dollars, but also percentages.
Obviously, we're talking about actually using data, and accountability is going to come into play when it comes to turning data into results. Do you find it's difficult for firms to encourage that accountability, to build that accountability without creating tension within the team?
Not usually. Again, if you've got W-2 employees that are working for you, right? Uh, Build out that monthly plan and say, look, here are the things that we want to change at the firm. We want your help with it. right? So if you're, again, maybe you, just as an example, maybe you've got to collect on some specific clients, right? Maybe you hand that responsibility to the attorney that worked on those clients. So, the plan is that in addition to continuing to work and bill their cases, sometime in the next month, they've got to get payments collected from the clients that they were working with the prior month. And so, reasonable requests like that can definitely be made. And it's nothing against that attorney. That's just what needs to happen for the firm financially. And giving them that responsibility and entrusting them with that, and then kind of giving them a due date as well. Again, give them adequate time to do it, but shouldn't put too much pressure on. Very, very reasonable ask.
Yeah, the pressure is probably what people, or some people just, I guess, get like kind of offended almost if you tell them, if you show them numbers that indicate that maybe they could have some improvement, but it really, does it really, for you in your mind, kind of come down to the approach and how you sort of pitch it?
Yeah, I think so. And some circumstances are more delicate than others, I suppose. Like if you've got an attorney that, maybe your billable hours requirement for the month is 120 hours, and maybe they're producing 80, right? Obviously, that's, a major problem, and, needs to be addressed accordingly, right? So again, that approach is very, very important. And to me personally, I just always, coach my clients that, look, it's just a conversation.
Yeah.
There's no emotions to numbers. Look, the fact of the matter is, you're supposed to bill 120. You only got in 80 last month. Do you need more work? Are you not properly getting all of your hours into the system? Are there other resources and tools that you need that we can help you with? Right? Really approaching it from a solution standpoint of working, together to get them to where you want them to be. I think is just the important way to go.
So once a firm makes the decision to track and act on the right data, how long does it typically take before these habits start showing up in profit and cash flow numbers?
Yeah, so that's going to depend on what we're changing specifically, but typically 30, 60, 90 days, right? Change can happen fast, especially when you pinpoint the right numbers. A great example is maybe you're looking at changing your sales approach. Your conversion rate from a lead to a closed case could change, within a couple of weeks if you've got the lead flow coming in, and maybe you've went out and gotten some training on, maybe some sales training on how to better close. So things can happen really, really quickly. Um, so anywhere from a couple weeks to 60 to 90 days. Some numbers are an average instead, right? So a good example there would be like, what's your average bill? Something like that, in order to raise an average, if we're looking at over the course of the year, would definitely take longer to change. Or what's the average number of leads that you get in a month? Again, something like that would be a metric that would be hard to change because it's an average. Now, depending on, how far into the year you are, right? If you're in March, it's a lot easier to change an average than if you're in October.
Hmm.
But changing averages definitely can take some time.
Do you feel like people are like, oh man, we got to track data, and so they start tracking data and they just track everything, and there's not really a targeted approach to that? Is that sort of how they get into this like overwhelming amount of data?
Yes, for sure. And it's not just financial. I read a blog post from Clio recently. I mean, and they listed out, 52 KPIs that your law firm should track. And, to me, I'm thinking 52 KPIs, right? Now, I appreciate the post, right? And I appreciate the exhaustive list that it was and potential numbers that you could track. However, I would not recommend to any law firm, no matter the size, that they go and track 52 KPIs. on a regular monthly basis. I think, again, you need to read something like that and pick 3, 5, 7, probably not more than 10 or 12 to maybe start tracking and watching and figuring out, are these on track? Do I need to continue to watch these? Because otherwise there will be overwhelm and no action and wasted time.
Yeah, it's like the old spaghetti marketing analogy, throw everything at the wall and see what sticks. I mean, if you try to be everywhere, if you try to do everything, then you're not really doing anything with any real intention, nothing, and it's not going to give you any value.
Yes, absolutely. Completely agree with that. Um, and I think a good question to ask always is, why are we tracking this number? Why is it important to us? Right? If you don't have good answers to those questions, probably need to evaluate, is this a waste of time or not?
Is there one easy change that you feel someone listening could make if they're feeling a bit buried in data or buried in reports?
If you had to get things down to 5 numbers, what are the 5 that you would look at, right? If you, again, maybe if you were on an island somewhere, right? No data, no technology, right? And all you got was like a piece of paper in a bottle from the ocean every day. What are the 5 numbers, right? And just start, looking at those numbers and really narrow it down. Narrow it, narrow it, narrow it.
Narrow it, narrow it, narrow it. That's the key takeaway. All right. Well, thanks for watching The Legal CFO. That's Ryan Kimler over there. If you're ready to get financial clarity for your law firm, visit netprofitcfo.com. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Stay up to date with everything we got coming your way. Ryan, it's always great chatting with you. Thanks so much for your time.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.